Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to some EVE Online and welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. Now, CCP Rise did drop a little bomb not so long ago in a dev blog about tradable skill points, which is pretty damn controversial. I still need a little bit of time to look through all of the comments and really make up my mind about what I think about this proposition. But one thing that I do know, when it comes to plex prices, if they go through with this, those should just shoot through the roof, because the fact that you'll need to buy something with Aurum for this activity just means that that's going to put that much more demand on plex. And yeah, expect prices of plex to go up if CCP does decide to go through with those tradable skill points. Anyways, we are here for the market, and as always, I will start out with plex then, and that's at 55 seconds. And plex are up to 1.248 billion ISK, which again, it's pretty damn expensive. We went down a little bit here, you can see, up until like the 1st of October because of a sale from CCP, but we are on our way back up. And yeah, let's see if this momentum can maintain, and we might even go higher than we went to the previous top of like 1.3 on some of the data points here. It does mean that demand is still pretty damn high. It probably also means that there is just straight up ISK inflation in the game at the moment. This little pullback here was due to the sale, possibly due to a little bit of market manipulation from CCP. Sometimes they do bring plexes that they grabbed from banned accounts and put those back into the market when they feel like they need to intervene. But the fundamentals seem to be strong for increased prices for plex. And of course, that dev blog about tradable skill points, which would be doable through the Aurum store, won't have done any good to this, because that just means that plex prices will be going up, and I can already imagine that some people will be speculating on this to actually happen and make sure that they have their plex ready when it does. So at the moment, I would say that yes, plexes are bound to be going back up. I can't really say if they'll continue on this momentum or if we'll finally see some sort of stabilization. I know one person commented last week where I said, well, maybe we'll finally see some stable price, and they said they can't see plex stabilizing at 1.2 billion, and it looks like they're right, because we shot right past that, and it looks like we're pretty much back on track. If you look at the chart from 6 months ago, just straight up, and it is very likely that in a few weeks we'll touch on 1.3 billion once again. So plexes at the moment in high demand. People are willing to put down a lot of money for them. They're just not coming in. I guess the supply is just too low at the moment for the game and the amount of cash that's in the game, and that puts this pressure on plex prices. Will we ever see a big pullback? Who knows? But at the moment, that doesn't seem to be in the cards. Multiple pilot training certificates are following suit. They're mirroring plex prices pretty nicely here. You get that little pullback down to 1.15 billion, but we're back up to 1.25 already here as well. So I think that that this will continue for now, unless something really drastic happens, unless CCP intervenes in the market or comes up with another sale. I think at the moment it looks like we've got inflation in the prices of plex. The body resculpt certificate shot up quite a bit as well all of a sudden, 340 million. The exact reason behind this, I can't say. This is a much smaller market though, so easier to manipulate. Maybe someone reading that news would like to have some stocks of these as well, because if that tradable SP idea goes through, that will put a lot of pressure on all of the real life market goods that or real life related market goods that exist already. And so pilot's body resculpt certificate, I think, that's either through plex, and it will again have an impact if people want to buy more Aurum for that SP idea, and thus maybe this is some preparation, some people stocking up on some resculpt certificates to make sure that they have them in case the price does shoot up substantially. Let's move on to the mineral market there, 455 for that one. And if you looked at the ticker below, you can already see that the titanium is tracing back a little bit. So we went up as high as 6.2, now we're back down to 6.10. Let's take a look at supply demand, see what's happening here. You've got 340 million, 200 million here, 177. You still do have a billion. Whoa, and that's actually less than a day old. 1 billion, 1.7 billion, 1 billion. So I actually think that this little pullback here was just due to the momentum. You can see that the charts shot pretty much straight up in less than a month. We went from 5.4 to 6.2. That's a pretty steep rise to maintain. So I think that this is just a healthy little pullback. But that the momentum is still up for titanium, because if you look at these demand numbers, they're way higher than supply. So I think that this will just be a little bit of a hiccup, a little bit of a stall here, with maybe someone cashing in on at 6.2 with some of the reserves. But you can already see here at the very tail end that the 5-day moving average is retracing 20-day moving average in its momentum upwards. And so I actually think that the titanium will be back to 6.2 pretty soon. Let's take a look at pyrite, see what's happening here. That one unfortunately is dropping back off. We've got data points as low as 11.2 with a bottom of 10.8. Not such a steep increase. 11.22 for the buyers, 11.24 for the sellers. You still see bigger numbers here, 22 million, 18 million, 16 million, even 42 million. But you get a few big sellers here as well, 100 million and 560. So I think people are actually dumping pyrite at the moment, which is doing something like a bit of its unique movement in the Isaac minerals, because you can see that titanium retraced all of its losses. Now a little bit of a stalling, but I still think there's more demand than supply. Pyrite traced back maybe 50% of its losses, or even less than that, because by now 7 months ago we were probably higher than this, and it's already on its way back down. So pyrite, a little bit of a weird one. Maybe it is being overproduced in some of the ores that are being mined at the moment. Let's take a look at Mixalon then. Also again here a little pullback, but not as bad as what we're seeing in pyrite. Also retraced back more than its fair share here. Topped at 70, went back down. Let's take a look at supply demand here. 45 million. Well, you get a couple of big sellers here with 100 million units each. The other ones are at 20 to 15 million, not that high. Here you do have 45 million, 41 million. This looks a lot more even, I must say. I can imagine a few people dumping 100 million ISK Mixalon because they know that they've made some profit on that. But I would see Mixalon on a sideways movement, just below 70 ISK from now on. I think that's in the card. 65 to 70, meander around that. If you look at the supply demand numbers here, I think that could be in the cards. I think that there's still some upward pressure for titanium, so that one could still try to get back to 6.2 and move around that price point. But yeah, the pyrite one is doing some weird stuff here compared to the other two. Here is Acigen, again very similar, reached maybe 127, something like that, and then decided to stall. But it's not even a major pullback, it's just probably starting to go sideways from here on out. Let's take a look at supply demand here. We've got a bit of supply coming in, 17 million, 10 million, another 10 million in these two orders. You get a few more decent sized orders that are not that long ago down below here. Demand dries up a little bit. You've got a few orders of 1 million units. You get still one order of 10 million units. So again, I think that overall this feels like a pretty stable situation, and it looks like the Isaac minerals may just have found their prices. All of them, except for pyrite, are actually at a high point for 6 months. All of them have retraced most or even more than the losses that they had incurred due to the mineral changes, which is the steep drop off right here. Except for pyrite, that one is just not retracing that well, and maybe there's just too much pyrite being produced in some of the ores at the moment or something like that. Let's take a look at Noxium, which is going very low again. Yeah, flirting with the bottom that we had like early August here. And that does mean, I think, that Noxium gets some pressure from all sides and is also being overproduced at the moment. 457 for the buyers, 477 for the sellers. Very small margin, and despite that, well, you still see like 3.5 million coming here, 1 million here, 4 million here, less than a day old. You do start to see some demand as well. 5 million here, 1.3 million here. I think some people are recognizing this very low price for Noxium and are starting to invest just in case they go back up. But the fact that we still have this strong supply coming in here does mean that Noxium is being overproduced. It's probably under pressure from the sources from HiSec, which have probably been able to maintain in volume. But in nullsec, you're probably able to produce a lot of Noxium due to the mineral changes. And so you have this double pressure on Noxium at the moment. That is causing it to be at a bottom for 6 months, probably for a whole year. Yep, look at that. Even the previous bottom here of 520 is broken. You've got a double bottoming out here, and we're at the lowest point in an entire year for Noxium. So I still think it's okay to buy these, but you know, it could be a lot of this is due to the fundamentals of how much of it is being produced in the universe at the moment. So don't do this on speculation. Do this expecting that minerals will be in high demand in general due to the citadels, and then it could be a good investment. But this is not a gamble to say that this is against the fundamentals and we are at like a speculative bottom or something like that. I don't think that that is true, but for a longer term investment, I do think that this could be a good move. Next up, the nullsec ones. I'll start with Megasite because that one was already seen on the ticker. It's actually going even lower, touching 1400 now, which again is the low for 6 months. And there is still that pressure on Megasite. So you still have, well, here you get decent amounts, 2.7 million units, 1 million, 2.6 million units, but that one is actually a little bit older, and you still have 1.3 coming in less than a day ago, 1.7 million coming in. So yeah, people are still making a lot of Megasite, bringing it to the market, competing with each other to try and get the best price possible, but it is slowly lowering the price of Megasite, and we are already retracing from 2,300 as a top back down to 1,400, which is yeah, almost half the price, very roughly half the price. So at least a 40% pullback since the top. It's really not bad, and I do think that at some point this is going to stop, but as I've said, just with Noxium, you've got some production fundamentals in the mineral changes that are causing this as well. So be careful expecting this to be like a speculative downtrend or something like that. It probably isn't. Let's take a look at Zydrine then. That one seems to be finding its price a little bit more, just above 1100 ISK. The downward trend you can see here was probably also a bit more violent than with Megasite, in basically 1, 2, 3 stages, dropping down to 1050, and now we're moving around the 1100 price point. Supply demand, let's take a look at that. Still decent supply, 3 million coming in here, 1 million, 1.3 million. Demand wise, we're not that high, honestly. I don't see that many new orders. They're not that big in volumes either. So I think that despite the fact that we see Zydrine decently high, a little bit above the 1100, I think the pressure is on and that we could go lower for Zydrine in the upcoming weeks because of the supply situation. So it's pretty damn interesting. The mineral market is still trying to find a new stable position for all of them. I mean, even for the HiSec minerals, which I think will start to move sideways. I still see some pressure in titanium. I see the weirdness in pyrite, and so I would say that there is still some soul searching to be done in the mineral market at the moment. But I find it all pretty damn interesting, and I've been stocking up on it, so it's pretty good that these HiSec minerals have retraced so much. So my investments have definitely already paid off, and I'm still expecting the Citadel announcements to make a big impact on the upside for minerals in general, so I'm not selling just yet. Next up, Tech One Chips. Let's take a look at that, 1420. And let's see if there's anything dramatic to see here. But I must say, in the last few weeks, the movements in Minerals have not been that violent, so I don't expect anything too much out of order. Well, the Armageddon at a high point for 6 months at 208 million. It's a little bit of a jump up. Let's see if some supply has materialized. Well, you're seeing 50 of them coming in like 14 hours ago, another 20 here. You get 35.99 of them. So I actually think that production will start to come in here. 210 million for an Armageddon is not bad. And I think we will start to see the retracing by next week for the Armageddon, because at the moment you're getting some pretty good money for producing them. Next up here we've got the Caracal, which is going back down towards, well, below 12 million. Are we below already? Just below 12 million. You're starting to see some supply come in here as well, 14.19, but not too much. Is all that new? So I think, yeah, the Caracal could settle around 12 million because there's better stuff to produce than this. And so I don't think we'll retrace back to like 11.5 or 11 million. But the idea behind the Caracal, though, I must say now that I'm in Providence, it is considered a very good counter against what is a flavor of the moment chip, which is like interceptor fleets, because you can't bubble those. And so I do think that the Caracal is still in very high demand. And that just means that you're paying a bit more for the Caracals at the moment than, let's say, a year ago. I can show you that. Obviously, over the course of the year, we've gone up from like 10 million to 12 million on average, which is, well, an increase in price of around 20%. It's not insignificant, but I do think that the fact that it's the Caracal plays a major part in this. Let's take a look at the Dominics, and I'll actually stick with the 1 year chart here for a little bit, just to try and see some trends in the Tech 1 market. Again, over the 1 year, going from 190 to 200 million. It's a little bit of an increase in price, but it's not that much. It's probably like 10 million on almost 205% or something like that. And the Dominics, after going up towards 205, now coming back. There should be some supply. Exactly, that's what happened here, which is what I'm expecting to happen for the Armageddon next week. People see that they can produce Dominixes for a better price. They bring to the market. Pressure is on. You still have 12 of them coming in right here, despite the decrease. And now it's gonna take a little bit of time for the market to actually absorb all of those volumes. And so you see the price going back down. For the Armageddon, that still needs to happen. Next up here, we've got the Drake chart. I think you can obviously see that the Drake went up from 48 to 56 million. Again, that's not that much. It's probably an increase of 8 million, a bit below 20%. The Drake did take a real beating before this. So this is due to the Drake nerfs that we went so low, and now it's actually coming back a little bit because of some missile changes and some new modules that have improved the performance of missiles. And so I actually don't think that this is completely out of line for a decently stable Tech 1 market. The Drake was at an extremely low point due to nerfs. So there's a little bit of history behind this increase in price for the Drake that we're seeing here. The Mauler, though, that's one of those examples of a very stable ship, starting at, well, on average you could say 11.5, ending at 11.5. We're a little bit above that, a little bit below that most of the chart. So 11 to 11.5 million, you'll usually be able to buy a Mauler. We also see a little bit of a pullback. We see some supply coming in. Although it's not that much in the last few days. You still have 8 of them here. Average volumes, you could put that at maybe 20, 30 Maulers, something like that a day. So even with the low volumes, the price is already coming back down here for the Maulers. Next up here, we've got the Myrmidon chart coming from 52 million to 56 million. So a little bit of an increase, a little bit below 10%. Myrmidon's already battle cruisers, so it is actually normal. It's more minerals. The mineral changes have made things a little bit more expensive, so it is normal that at the first half of this chart here you can see it averaging between like 50 to 54 million, and now it's going to average between 52 and 56 million, something like that. A few violent spikes. We saw that the market was pretty much bought out, but here Myrmidons, we do see supply coming back in. 20 and 18 as the last two sell orders here in volume. Not bad. That's pretty much a day's volume coming in from just the two latest ones. So I think the Myrmidon is going to stabilize here. Could even be a little bit of pressure bring it back down towards 55, 54 million, something like that. Next up, we've got the Oracle. That one again is a tier 3 battle cruiser, which I think has much more Zydrine and Megasite, so you can see the impact of that in a general increase in price, starting at 70 million going up to 90 million. Percentage wise, this is pretty big, but again, we also saw that this spike here is due to like something that happened a few weeks ago in the Tech 1 markets. Pretty much everything was bought out all of a sudden, and now we're actually working on a double spike. The Oracle is of course a really good ship, and it's a bit more expensive to produce as well. So it looks like we're heading towards 100 million for an Oracle. Supply is still pretty dry. If you can produce these, which is also, it's one of the, it's not a blueprint that has existed for many years on the market either. It's not that many players that will have an absolutely perfect Oracle blueprint just yet. So that could be a reason why this still has some momentum here on the upswing. But I think once they see this opportunity, people will start producing a lot of Oracles, and even with a less than perfect blueprint, you're bound to make a good profit on producing them. So I think that at some point this will start to pull back. But the Tech 1 market was bought out pretty much for a lot of the ships a few weeks ago, and so we still need a little bit of time to come back from that. Here's the Raven. You can see we start at 175 to 200 million. I would again put that at having some history behind it, just like the Drake. The Raven is a missile boat, so it took a bit of a beating on nerves there. Was very low, 165 as a bottom compared to 200 to 210 for the other battleships. Ravens were extremely cheap, and so I actually think that this pullback here just coincided with the buying up of Tech 1 market, and now it's actually going to stabilize at a more normal price for a battleship. So I don't think that there's any reason to panic at this increase in price. Is actually pretty normal, just bringing the Raven back in line with the other battleships. Here's the Stabber then. Well, over the entire year, you can see it was pretty stable. First half just below 10.5, second half just above 10.5 million. But now we do have a big spike right here at the tail end. Let's take a look at that one on a 6-month chart. You can see it happened in the last week or so. So I guess someone came in, bought a really big cache of Stabbers to make a couple of fleets, and so this is why we have this price spike again. If you can make Stabbers, this is a good time to bring them to the market. Of course, this is only a cruiser, so this is going to get filled up a lot more quickly than for battleships and battle cruisers. So this opportunity is bound to be very short-lived, and I fully expect Stabbers to come back down to below 11 million once production sees this opportunity. Next up here, we've got a Tornado also going up across the year from 68 to almost 80 million, something like that. So 30 million, 32 million. It's definitely like a 50% increase in price almost compared to the starting price. But it is a tier 3 battle cruiser, and you can see it went up in 2 phases. So this is probably 6 months, yeah. So this is probably the mineral changes right here causing a bit of a spike, because they're a bit more expensive to make. And here we've got this event, whatever it is, that happened in the Tech 1 market a few weeks ago, that pulled them up to 80 million. And we're still at 81 million for the sellers, 74 for the buyers, but we are seeing some supply coming in, so I actually think that the pressure is on now. 1 year chart for that, starting at 64 up to 80 million. That's around that 50% increase. So it's not that drastic, but it's the Tornado obviously knew 2 big spikes here, and has gone up for the entire year substantially. Here is the Typhoon then, also going up towards 184 million. Keep the other battleship prices in mind. This is not out of line either. Starting at 156, ending up at 185, an increase of 20 million, a bit over 10%. It's really not all of that drastic. But we are starting to see this 1 year picture. The bigger the ship, the bigger the percentage increase in price. And the smaller ships, like here again, the Vexor, this is the 1 year chart, starting at 11.5, ending at 12.5 on a bit of volatility, but for the entire year it's been pretty damn stable. So I think that that's been the story in the Tech 1 market, especially after the mineral changes. The bigger the ship, the bigger the increase in price, because you just needed more minerals to make those. But up to cruisers, we've seen a very stable market. And then of course a few weeks ago we had this Tech 1 event. Still not sure what happened, but we were pretty much empty of ships in Jita all of a sudden, and we still need a little bit of time to digest that and add in that the current increase in high-sec mineral prices. It could be that we'll just settle at a slightly higher price point than before, but if over 1 year we're talking 10-15% increase in price, that is definitely in line with ISK inflation, and so I don't think that this is dramatic or all that bad for the Tech 1 market. I still feel that this is an okay and decently stable market in general. Next up, Tech 2. Let's take a look at some trade opportunities. 2520. Although I must be honest, I've put my money in plex with that announcement from those tradable skill points. So it's not for personal use. I don't have any ISK left to put in the Tech 2 market. But let's take a look here. Here's the Basilisk, 195, right in the middle of the chart. So nope, I would not invest in Basilisk. Here is the Cerberus, again going pretty damn low. You can see that the data points indicate volatility starts at 180. You know, if the chart ever hits 180, here we've got some volatility, some pullbacks. Possibly some null-sec activity can be very important here as well, but you've got buy orders below 180, and I really don't think that that's bad for Cerberus medium term. At some point you'll be able to sell them above 200, even 220, 230, something like that on a good spike. I think the Cerberus is definitely coming into investment range at this point. Here's the Enyo then, slowly creeping up. It knew a bit of a spike, probably the announcement that they would make a comeback in faction warfare if Tech 3 destroyers are kept out of those faction warfare sites. A little bit of a pullback from this, so nothing too drastic. Are we actually crossing the 20-day moving average? What are the sellers at? 23 million, 21.4 million. It's pretty small market as well at the moment because of probably the Tech 3 destroyers. And so I don't see the necessary volatility here to make good trades. Here's the Guardian then, settling at 140. What are the buyers at? 135, 139 for the sellers. Very small margin here. I would not risk it. I would need to see the Guardians go lower before I would say an investment opportunity is starting to form here. Here is the Hound spiking from below 17 up to 19 million. That's definitely more than 10%. So it's not that bad. It's retracing. And are we buying close? Yeah, 16.5 million for the buyers. It's still not that bad. There's a decent margin between buyers and sellers for the Hound at the moment, and you see that you have sell opportunities at like 21 to 19 million. So if you can buy them at these prices, I don't think it's that bad. Next up, we've got the Ishtar here, a lovely double spike above 175. We're currently buying them for 162, so it's too late to sell, it's too early to buy. If you can buy them below 160, then you're probably doing some pretty good business. But nope, the Ishtar is, like you can see right here, in the middle of the chart, in the middle of its extremes. So that's definitely, in my opinion, not the time to make a move on them. Here's the Manticore then. That's a lot better if you're looking for an investment opportunity after a lovely spike up to 32 million. You can see that 26, 25 million is not out of realm of possibilities for Manticores either. At the moment for the buyers, there's pressure on. We're buying them below 20 million. It's not that bad. There's still oversupply here as well. So it's definitely not a short-term trade, but longer-term Manticore could be okay to make a move on that. Here's the Nemesis, definitely dropping off, and this is interesting. It's actually dropping off pretty violently. Do we have buy orders below 18 million? Yes, we do. The Nemesis, okay, seeing a violent drop off like this could be a good sign of volatility. We're also touching previous bottoms for volatility again. Yeah, keep an eye on this one. I like this. I definitely like this sharp drop off. Buy orders below 18 million. If you can pick some of these up, then I do think you're making a good deal here. Next up, we've got the Oniros. Lovely spike, of course. That opportunity doesn't last that long. We're retracing back now. Current sellers 152, buyers 147. So again, if you manage to buy them below 140, you can still try to sell, but the best time was probably last week. If you want to buy, then it's obviously too early to consider the Oneros. Next up here, the Purifier. I don't really like this, too stable coming off of a spike, definitely not low enough. I would need to see this closer to 16 million or even below that for the buyers until I say definitely you could make a good move on the Purifier. But here, considering the chart, nope, too stable as well, which is unusual. You know, only one spike over 6 months, not that good. Here's a Scimitar then, that's a bit more spiky, that's better. We're finally dropping off of basically a triple high above 145. It's gonna be hard considering this chart to find the bottom, but I would say below 130 you're looking pretty good. What are the buyers at? 127. Again, this is a pretty steep drop off here. You already have buyers below 130 million. The question is, of course, considering the 6-month chart, we went as low as 120 before. Do you expect 130 to be another trigger for volatility? I think it is possible. It's been once before, but it could be 125, it could be 120 as well. So it's up to you to decide what your bottom is, where you want to step in for the Scimitar. But considering the volatility here with the triple spike, the serious drop off here, it could be good to keep an eye on this one. Next up here, we've got the Vengeance, again, assault cruiser moving from 19 to 22 million. That's not so bad, but it is coming back down again as well. And unless you expect this to make a really big comeback, we're talking 20 million to buy, 23 million to sell. It's a decent margin, but this gap is going to close. Volumes are not that high. I just don't like the assault frigates for trading at the moment. So yeah, there you go. That was a quick look at the Tech 2 market. I see some buy opportunities, honestly, but these assault frigates, nope, just not that hot for me. Next up, we've got Tech 3 markets, 31.35 for that one. Let's see what's happening here. I'll just straight up start with the Tengu. You saw that one kept going up, almost at 200 million. It in fact did touch 200 million, went back down to 180. Now we're back up towards 190 on the chart, 193. But one thing that you will notice right here is the big supply that came in at this opportunity. Look at that. All of this is less than 3 hours old. All of this 10, 10, 8, 8 right here as the latest order. So the pressure is on, and let's see how low we have to go until this is here. We've got 2 days ago, and it's still 17, 15, 13, 48 right here. So obviously a big move was made, but the supply is starting to come in here. So I do think that we'll see Tengus under pressure. What will be their new bottom, their new normal price? That's hard to tell in advance considering how popular they seem to be all of a sudden. But yeah, you can see that there's really big supply coming in because of this price spike, and so that this is under pressure at the moment. Let's take a look at the other ones then. Here is the Proteus, spike up to 220, now working its way back down. What are the supply numbers looking like? Again, a full front page, more than almost 2 pages full of less than a day old orders, and volumes wise 17. That is what has decreased. So I think because of the tactical destroyers, there is no longer just 4 ships to put Tech 3 production in. So we're no longer seeing the 50, 70, 80 ships coming in from a single seller. That has decreased a little bit, thus increasing the volatility in the market a little bit. Overall, again, the Tech 3 destroyers have, in my opinion, been an absolute hit. Because they've brought back volatility in the Tech 3 market. They've solved the problem of absolutely mind-boggling overproduction in the Tech 3 cruisers, which have really crippled that market for a very long time. They're fun to fly, they're used, they're lost, they are absolutely from an economic standpoint, I think they were as good as it gets. Those Tech 3 destroyers. Next up here we've got the Loki, again very similar. And is the supply alive? Yes, you can obviously see that they are coming in, less than a day old. We've got 28 of them, so this is not a big full screen of recent orders, but it's also more recently that it spiked up to 210 and it's working its way back down. So I think we will, well, actually going back down to 170 already, this will just stabilize much more quickly. It's been more violent and a little bit later than the Proteus and the Tengu. And then finally we've got the Legion here, also much more recent, a little bit less violent than the Loki, so I actually think that this one still has a ways to go. But as you can see right here, the chart still has to catch up. The chart is still at 200, we're already back down to 196, and all of these are new legions coming to the market. So the pressure is on. The race to sell your Tech 3 ships at these better prices is happening right now, and I actually think that that pressure is going to maintain for a bit. Let's take a look at the destroyers then. Here's the Confessor, also finally pulling back a little bit after going as high as 54 million. Supply of that, let's see here, well, not that much recent, I must say. Yeah, not that much very recent, but you still have a pretty big bottleneck to work through. But I guess that production has focused on the cruisers because of their spikes, and so there is less potential for big production in these. Here's the Hecate. Yeah, just one new order coming in. This is really good because it does mean that over the entire Tech 3 ship spectrum, there is no longer the opportunity from producers to just flood everything. So unless this is market manipulation, which I mean it's a lot of risk to call this market manipulation, it does mean that the Tech 3 market is back in a healthier position at the moment. Jackdaws though, they came in pretty big numbers. As you can see, all of this is pretty recent. Trying to cash in at 50 million is Jackdaws. That's pretty big. Let's hope that some of this production will make a move towards the Confessor, bring that one back in line a little bit. And the Hecate below 50 million, that's actually still quite okay. And then finally we've got this Vipul here, also settling at 52 million. There's not that many of them, one order of 11 coming in. And well, the daily average volumes are pretty high, so there's still some pressure on the Vipels. If you've got those lying around, you can probably still make some decent money off of those. But yeah, the opportunities were obviously in the Tengu, in the cruisers last week, and I think that this is why we see a lot of them being brought to that market, and not that many coming in for the tactical destroyers. Very, very interesting stuff. I think this Tech 3 market, it's really good to see that one alive for more than a year. I think I had to report, well, these are the Tech 3 cruisers. We're reaching new lows. There is still just amazing volumes coming into the market. Those days seem to definitely be over, and I would say that the Tech 3 market is starting to find itself. It's starting to come alive again, and all of that is, in my opinion, thanks to the tactical destroyers. So very, very good decision to introduce those to the game. And now for my extra product, that is going to be 3730. Well, it's going to be a long Eve talk this week, but I'm going to check out the attribute implants, obviously with the idea being floated around to make SP tradable. It's not only plex that's going to suffer, I should say. I think I can say from an introduction of a system like that, if you want to speculate, then it's obviously going to be the implant drones, the attribute implants that you want to invest in, because especially the really good implants, I think, should be in very high demand, because what some people will probably want to do, oh my god, there's so many of them, that's quite a few to check out. But let's just take a look here and see if there's any spikes to note, like in the last few days or so. Great Snake Alpha, nope, still going down, decently stable. Not, well, a little bit there, but really I'm just quickly going through all of these. There are so many implants, I'm a little bit surprised by that. Let's just maybe go for those oculars here. I think those are just the standard ones. Will they always be at the bottom of the list? I don't know. But this one, obviously, and look at that, up to 22 million on a data point. Something may have happened here. 20 million now, so definitely settling at a higher price here. The improved one, not so much. Here's the beta. Look at that, obviously Pretty violent upswing, although it's only another spike. Did we pass that? Yeah, 6 million. Some people did make a move on just the regular ones that improve only the perception bonus, because you don't need all the extra ones if you're planning to make SP farm characters. So yeah, I think it did happen a little bit just in the plain slot 1 implants. Let's take a look then at this one. Maybe memory or augmentation standards. I'm not seeing it here. Improved, yeah, a little bit. Data points up to 108 million here. Here's an augmented beta. That's not due to the announcement, and nope. So actually it's pretty timid here. Not seeing that much really big moves in these attribute implants. A little bit for the neural boost. I mean, we're again at 19 million, but not completely that out of order. That looks quite okay as well, and that looks very stable. So I'm not seeing it. I was expecting more volatility on that announcement. Of course, one thing is that should be noted is that the dev blog basically introduced the idea, gives a chance to debate about it, and it's definitely not set in stone that they're going to implement that. So it remains a really big gamble if you're pouring all of your ISK on expecting that to actually come to the game. So against my expectation, I'm not seeing the big speculative moves. Well, look at that. The volume here though, that's pretty crazy. Look at that volume. That's absolutely huge now that I say that. So this is like a cheap implant and limited social adaptation, and look at that volume is just crazy. Something definitely did happen there. Let's take a look at volumes of some of the other like really cheap ones. Which one was that? Well, it's a volume spike, but nothing completely crazy either, and they happened before here. So yeah, it's weird. I think some people made a few very small calculated moves on that, but nothing that completely drowns the market in a general trend up or a big speculative bubble or anything like that. So yeah, I was expecting a bit more from the announcement. I think a few individuals made a few small moves, but it is nothing that the market seems to have a consensus about when it comes to these attribute implants just yet. Anyways, that's it for this Eve Talk then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.